Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Strat Baseball History, where we are visiting the New York Mets Game 2 of the 1962 season on April 11th against the St. Louis Cardinals in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Mets won Game 1. It was a surprise. We'll see if they can hang on in Game 2. Their starting pitcher tonight is going to be Roger Craig. In 62, Craig was 10-24, a 4.51 ERA and 33 starts. 233 innings pitched, 261 hits allowed, not good, 70 walks, 118 strikeouts. He'll be opposed by Bob Gibson. Gibson, 15-13 with a 2.85 ERA and 30 starts this year, 234 innings pitched, so one more inning than Craig, 174 hits allowed, almost 100 less hits. 95 walks, 208 strikeouts, and 15 homers. So clearly the Cardinals have the advantage on the pitching. But that's why they play the games, folks. You never know what's going to happen. Without further ado, we'll get to the first pitch. It's going to be right fielder Joe Christopher leading off against Gibson. That's a 4-7, and Gibson gives up a walk to Christopher to start the game. So good start for the Mets. They get a runner on. He's a B runner, so it'll be a 1-13 to steal. Chacon coming up. They're going to hit and run right away. And it's going to be a good result. A 3 on the hit and run chart is a single. Runners advance 2 bases. So Elio Chacon with a single. Christopher over to third, and the Mets have runners in scoring position right away. Mantilla coming up. The infield playing for the double play. About a 4-11. It's a ground ball first base C. They're going to get one out, 3-1. Chacon will advance to second, and Christopher will come in to score. The Mets already leading 1-0. One out here in the first with Chacon on second. Mantilla gets the RBI. And Gibson's ready to deal to Frank Thomas, the power hitter for the Mets in the cleanup slot. He'd love to drive Chacon in and give the Mets a 2-0 lead. Let's see. 2-6. He's going to. Double 1-5. Single 6-20. It's going to be a single with 2 asterisks. For Thomas. Chacon comes around to score easily. Thomas is on first with an RBI single, and the Mets out to a 2-0 lead against Gibson. Good start against a strong pitcher. Here's Marv Throneberry with Thomas on first. A 4-6 is a strikeout for the second out of the inning. So Thomas on first, 2 outs, and here's second baseman for the Mets, Charlie Neal. That's a 3-5. That's a base hit. No asterisks. Thomas will move to second. We're not going to try to make the advance to third because you never make the third out at third base, right, folks? Never make the first or third out at third base. That's the old adage. And we give Jim Hickman a chance to drive in a run with Thomas in scoring position. First and second, 2 outs, and Gibson will deal to Hickman. That is a 4-9, single 1-4, line out to third. Otherwise, and it is a line out to Boyer at third. So the Mets' first inning comes to an end, but they do get 2 early runs against Gibson. Very valuable runs against a strong pitcher for New York. Roger Craig will deal to Curt Flood in the bottom of the first. Here's the pitch. That is a 3-5 to Flood. It's a ground ball to shortstop for the first out. Chacon over to Throneberry, no problem. Here's Julian Javier, the second baseman for St. Louis. Craig deals, and a 2-9. That's a base hit. Right up the middle for Javier. He's a stealing A as he perches on first base. That means he's a 1-15 to go, and he's going to go. And he's stolen second. So Javier at second. Sorry, Bill White up at the plate. 1 out, and here's the pitch from Craig. It's a 2-8, and that's a single. So Javier rounds third. He's a 1-16 running. He's going to try to score. They're waving him on, and he's in, ahead of the throw. So Bill White with an RBI single cuts the lead to 2-1, and he's on first with just 1 out. He's stealing. They will hold him. It'd be a 1-13 if we wanted to send him, but we're going to let Stan Musial hit. It's a 1-8, and that's a single. White around second. He's a 1 to 15 to go to third. He'd be valuable at third with less than 2 outs, so we're going to send him. And he's in there. White hustles over to third, and now it's first and third, 1 out. Usual with the single, and it brings up power-hitting Ken Boyer. The Mets are playing back for the double play. Usual not a stealing threat. And Craig deals to Boyer. It's going to be a 3-7. Ground ball third base A. That is going to be a 5 to 4 to 3 double play. Craig gets out of the inning with just 1 run allowed, and the Mets still lead 2 to 1 after 1. They'll send up Taylor, Craig, and Christopher here in the second against Gibson. Here's Sammy Taylor, the catcher for New York. 6-8. That's a ground ball to shortstop. Gote is a 4. And we roll a 1 on a 4. That's going to be a single under Gote's glove. Gets past him. And Taylor's on at first. Roger Craig, the pitcher, up to hit. He's a terrible hitting pitcher, so he's going to try to bunt Taylor to second. The sacrifice attempt is a 10. That's batter safe, leading runner thrown out by pitcher. So that's going to be a fielder's choice. Craig will reach, and on the 1-6, Taylor is retired at second with the force out. So 1 out, Craig at first, and here's Joe Christopher, who walked and scored his first time up. 3-6 is a pop-up on the infield to second base. Julian Javier over to cover it for the second out. And now here's Ilio Chacon with a single and a run scored so far today. It's going to be a 6-3. Grounded to first base X, White is a 1. So on the 12, he boots it. That is the error for 1, so that's an E3. And the Mets inning will continue with Chacon at first and Craig at second. That'll give Felix Mantilla a chance to drive in another run with 2 outs. The clutch base hit here would be huge against Gibson. Gibson deals. 2-7 is a fly ball to left field. Musial roams over and takes it for the third out. The Mets down without a run here in the second. We go to the bottom of the second. 2-1 New York. Sawatsky, James, and Gote do up for the Cardinals, and Craig deals to Sawatsky. It's a 4-8. A fly ball over to right field. Christopher is going to roam over and take it. F9 for the out number 1. Here's Charlie James. It's a 1-5. It's going to be a base hit back up the middle. And James is on at first with 1 out. He's D-stealing, not going anywhere. And here's Gote. A 6-5, and that, believe it or not, is a home run on Craig's card. 6-5 home run. Gote with the 2-run homer. The Cardinals fans go wild as Gote slugs it into the seats. And St. Louis now with a 3-2 lead over New York. We're only in the second inning, folks. This could be a wild one. Craig now has to deal to Gibson, who's an 8 pitcher. An 8 hitting pitcher, I should say. That's a good hitting pitcher. And a 6-11. So ground ball back to the pitcher. Over to Thornberry at first for the second out. 2 down for St. Louis in the second, and Curt Flood, 0 for 1 so far today, comes back to the plate. That's a 4-11. He's going to fly ball right field X. Christopher is a 3. A 5 on the 3 chart is an out 5. So Christopher roams over and makes the play to end the second inning for the Cardinals, but they score 2. And after 2, it's St. Louis 3, New York 2. The heart of the Mets order, due up here in the third, Thomas, Thornberry, and Neal. Here's Frank Thomas. A 4-10 is a fly ball to center. Curt Flood roams over and takes it like a can of corn. 1 down, easy play. Here's Thornberry. Struck out his first time up. About a 3-12. That's a fly ball to right field. No problem for James for the second out. And Gibson seems to have settled down here in the third. Charlie Neal with a base hit his first time up. Comes to bat with 2 out. The pitch from Gibson is a 3-2 foul out to the catcher. to end the third, and it's a possible injury to Charlie Neal. We do use super advanced injuries in this 62 replay, so let's see what the die roll says. Neal has a lot of at-bats, so he's protected from really long injuries, but nevertheless, a 10 on our super advanced injury chart. We're going to see is a 2-game injury for a batter, so his max here would be, well, he could have actually been injured up to 15 games, but Charlie Neal's going to be out of the game and out of the lineup for a couple of days. And we'll have to find a second baseman to replace him. So Neal, 2 games. Let's put him over here in the New York reserve squad and find a second baseman to come on in and play the rest of this game. Looks like it's going to be bad news, folks. It's going to be Rod Cannell as second base 5. Oh boy. That's bad news indeed. Well, Cannell's going to pray nobody hits the ball to him, and we're going to go to the bottom of the third. Craig will be pitching to Javier, White, and Musial. Javier 1 for 1 so far, a run and a stolen base. The pitch from Craig is a 4-8. That's a fly ball to right field. Christopher over for the first out. Bill White comes to the plate, an RBI single back in the first. The pitch, 1-7, and that's a strikeout. Craig gets a little revenge there. And 2 St. Louis batters are down. And here is the great one, Stan, the man Musial, singled back in the first. How about a 3-7? This time he has patience and is walked. The base on balls to Musial continues the inning. Craig annoyed with himself. He's going to have to deal with the power-hitting Ken Boyer now. Boyer grounded into a double play his first time up. Let's see what he does with this Craig pitch. A 3-9. And Craig gets him swinging. Good inning for Craig, despite the walk. 2 strikeouts, no runs. 1 man left. And after 3, St. Louis still leading 3-2. A brief drink of water for your announce team as we identify the Strat-O-Matic History channel here on YouTube. Join us for all your 1962 replay needs, where we'll be broadcasting all of the Mets and Yankees games, as well as some other random games throughout the season. It's going to be Hickman, Taylor, and Craig up for the Mets against Bob Gibson. Gibson will deal to the center fielder Hickman. The 6-5, and he strikes him out. Gibson definitely looks like he's gotten the rust off here in his first start of the season. Here's Sammy Taylor. Singled his first time up. Here's a 1-7. This is a grounder back to first. It's going to be taken by White unassisted for the second out. And that brings up the pitcher Craig, who grounded into a fielder's choice his first time. 0 for 1 officially. And a 1-10 is going to be the result. A strikeout again for Gibson, his second of the inning, to end the fourth 1-2-3 inning for Gibson against the Mets. And we go to the bottom of the fourth. Sawatsky, James, and Gote due up for St. Louis. Craig back on the mound and deals to Sawatsky, who's 0 for 1 on the day. How about a 3-6? That's a grounder to first. Tosses it to Craig for the out. Good play by Throneberry, and 1 is away. St. Louis right fielder Charlie James steps in. He's got a base hit and a run scored on the day. Going to crack a 1-11, grounded back to Craig this time and over to Throneberry at first for the second out. And that brings up Julio Gote. Maybe it's Julio. Probably Julio Gote. Gote homered off the pitcher's card back in the second. 2-12. It's a grounder to short. Chacon over to Throneberry. A 1-2-3 inning here in the fourth for Craig. And St. Louis does not score. So after 4, St. Louis still leading the Mets 3-2. We've got the top of the order, Christopher, Chacon, and Mantilla coming up. Gibson back on the mound, takes a deep breath, and he's ready to go. Joe Christopher 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored today. Those are 4-10. That is a fly ball to center field. Curt Flood has no problem with it and retires the first out. Here's Elio Chacon, singled and reached on an error. Officially 1 for 2 on the day with a run scored. Gibson deals. 4-3 is a fly ball out to right. James is a 2. And a 3 on the outfield 2. Safe at second. James drops the ball. Flat out drops it. Misplays that one. And allows Chacon to reach second. The second error for St. Louis on the day. They've been a little sloppy. Chacon has a little bit of speed, but he's not going to try to steal third. Gibson ready to deal, and he pitches to Mantilla, who'd love to tie this game with a base hit. Well, he's got a single, no asterisks. He's got a shot. Chacon's around third with a running 1-15. The third base coach sends him to try to tie the game. And a 19, he is out. Thrown out from the outfield. We'll call it a 9-2. Good throw by James. And that is the second out of the inning, cutting off the run, keeping the St. Louis lead intact. Mantilla will end up at first. He did not advance. And with 2 outs, Frank Thomas will have a chance to hit. Thomas 1 for 2 with an RBI on the day. And Gibson's ready. Here's the pitch. 1-9 is a strikeout. So Gibson gets a little help from his outfield there. That 20-sided die betrays him. And St. Louis maintains their lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Gibson due to lead off, followed by the top of the order, Floyd and Javier here in the bottom of the 5th for the Cardinals. Roger Craig back on the mound, and he pitches to Gibson. That's a 5-11. Ground ball to Throneberry at first. A 1 on a first base 4 is going to be a single 2. So that gets past Throneberry into the outfield. Gibson's got himself a base hit, helping his own cause here. With Gibson on first, Curt Flood will come up. Craig deals. 4-8. Lofts a fly ball to right. No problem for Christopher. 1 down. Gibson returns to first. Here's Julian Javier. 1 for 2 on the day. Craig deals to him. 6-10. A fly ball to center. That's going to be no problem for Jim Hickman. And that's the second out. So Gibson's still standing on first with 2 down, and here's Bill White. About a 2-4. Well, that's trouble for Craig. That is a home run straight off White's card. A 2-4. No roll necessary. No doubter. The 2-run home run is going to extend the Cardinals' lead. The hometown fans are happy, as it is now 5-2. And I was about to end the inning on a home run. That's not going to work. We need 1 more out, folks. Roger Craig would like to walk back to the dugout right now, but only with the 3rd out. He still has to face Hall of Famer in the future, Stan the Man Musial. So Craig tries to shake off the homer, deals the pitch to Musial. That is a 5-9. That's a grounder to Chacon at short. An 18 on the 20-sided die for a shortstop 4 says, roll that 20-sided die again, folks. Outcome uncertain. How about a 16? That's an out with no runners on base. The Chacon over to Throneberry for the final out. But the damage is done. 2 more runs for St. Louis, and they now lead New York 5-2. Throneberry, Neal, and Hickman due up. Here's Throneberry, 0 for 2 with a strikeout on the day. Gibson pitches a 1-6. That's a fly ball to right. No problem for James, and that's the first out for New York. Rod Cannell, who came in for the injured Neal, taking his first at bat of the day. He's not a bad hitter. Serviceable hitter, as we would say. 6-6. Double 1-10, fly ball to right. Well, unfortunately, he got a little too much of that, and James is able to roam under it and retire Cannell for the second out. Here's Jim Hickman, struck out his last time up. Gibson's pitch, a 6-6. Same thing, double 1 to 10. Fly ball to right. This time it does get down. Hickman ends up at second with a 2-out double, and Sammy Taylor will come to the plate. 1 for 2 on the day, an RBI chance here for Taylor. The Mets could really use to chip away at this 3-run Cardinal lead. Gibson has other ideas. A 1-5. Well, he actually loses Taylor. A base on balls, and here in the 6th, Roger Craig due to bat with runners on and the Mets trailing. It's a little early, but they're going to pull the trigger and sit Craig for a pinch hitter. So Craig's day is done. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 5 runs. Not a great start for him. And the Mets know a 3-run homer right here would tie the ball game. Let's see who they pull off the bench. Ashburn's an option, but not a great power hitter. Choo Coleman's available. Oh, never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Gil, 9 home runs and 127 at-bats. Hodges. Gil Hodges is going to get a chance to tie this ball game. First and second, 2 outs. Bob Gibson ready to deal. And Gil Hodges up to pinch hit. Let me make a note of that before the pitch. I got a little excited. Alright. Everything's settled back in and ready. Hickman on second. Taylor on first. Two outs already. And Bob Gibson pitches to Gil Hodges. That is a 1-5. Oh, just missed a home run on the 1-6, but it is a base hit for Hodges. So Taylor to second. Hickman rounds third. Let's see if they'll send him. He's a 1 to 15 to try to score. They're going to send him. And a 13 on the dime means Hickman gets in. Gives Gil Hodges an RBI single. And the Mets have chipped away at that lead. It's now 5-3. Runners at first and second for Joe Christopher coming up. Gibson shakes his head in frustration. But he's coming after Christopher, all guns blaring. The pitch to Christopher. How about a 5-3? That's a grounder to short. Gote is a 4. Always an adventure out there for Julio Gote. A 14 on the shortstop 4. Out with no runners on base. If runners are forced, runners hold. One or more runners forced to batter is safe. Otherwise, events one base. Regardless, you're going to get 1 out here. So the moral of the story is that it ends up being, with 2 outs, a 6-3 to end the inning. But the Mets get a run back. And now trail only 5-3. Gil Hodges will sit his butt down. And the Mets will bring in a new pitcher. That pitcher is going to be Bob Moorhead. He's a pitcher 4. And his POW is a 4, so he could conceivably complete the game, but he'll probably be pitch hit for again. Unless this thing gets really out of hand. So here in the bottom of the 6th, Moorhead will face Boyer, Sawatsky, and James. Here's Moorhead's pitch to Boyer, 0 for 2 on the day. 2-8, and that's a home run, folks. And Boyer, 2-8, home run. A solo shot extends the lead. It's that run right back for the Cardinals. That was Moorhead's first pitch. Not a good sign, folks. Here's Sawatsky. Nobody down, 1 run in already, a 4-12. Pops him up on the infield. Chacon roams over and makes the catch when it comes down for the first out. Charlie James, 1 for 2 with a run scored on the day. And I'm throwing dice all over the place. That's a foul ball. The pitch from Moorhead again. It's going to be a 5-3. Rumble back to the pitcher, who's a 4, as we said. A 4 on the chart. That's a double. I don't know how that ends up being a double. On a ground ball back to the pitcher, but it does. So, a double. Bounces off the mound into the outfield, I guess. And Julio Gauthier is going to come up with 1 out and a man on second for St. Louis. 5-7, that's a grounder to second. Neal is a 3. A 10 on the second base 3. That's an error. So Neal boots it, trying to rush the play. And instead of 2 outs, the Mets now have a problem. First and third, only 1 out. Bob Gibson up to bat. They're going to bring the infield in to try to cut off further runs. And Moorhead deals to Gibson. That's a 1-6. Moorhead gets Gibson on strikes. That's a relief for the Mets, as they now have 2 outs, and they can play the infield normal against Curt Flood. Moorhead deals to Flood. How about a 4-4? And that's a fly ball to center field. Hickman will roam over and take it for the final out of the inning, but St. Louis gets that run back. And after 6 in the books, they lead 6-3. Gibson takes the mound for the 7th. He'll face Chacon, Mantilla, and Thomas. The pitch to Chacon is a 4-6 strikeout. So 1 down, and here's Mantilla. 1 for 3 with a ribby today. How about a 2-4? That's a line drive, but right at the second baseman Javier for the 2nd out. We'll bring up Frank Thomas with 2 outs for New York. Gibson with the pitch. How about a 4-9? That's a single 1-4 or a line out to third. A 15 indicates a line out to Boyer at third. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Gibson. The Mets do not score here in the 7th, and they're running out of time. St. Louis leads 6-3. In the bottom of the 7th, Javier, White, and Musial. They've done some damage today. Here's Javier, 1 for 3 with a run scored. 2-7. That's a double 1-4, single 5-20. A 3 indicates a double for Javier, his second base hit of the day. He's an A stealer, but they won't hold him at second. Here's Bill White. Got 3 RBIs on the day, including a 2-run homer his last time up. He'd love to add to that total. A 2-3, he just missed the 2-4 home run again. Instead is a line out to Neal at second for the 1st out. So Moorhead on the mound. Ready to pitch to Stan Musial, who's 1 for 2 officially. Grounded out his last time up. 5-11 is a grounder to first. Throneberry is a 4. An 18 on a first base 4 is out with no runners on base. It's going to be a fielder's choice. No, it's not actually. It's going to be a runners are not forced. So it's going to end up being a 3-1 for the 2nd out. Javier will stay at second, and Boyer comes to bat. Boyer also homered his last time up. 2 outs, and the pitch for Moorhead. 4-4 is a fly ball to center. Hickman roams over and takes care of it for the 3rd out. We go to the 8th. The Cardinals lead your Mets 6-3. A little bit of a dry throat tonight, but the game must go on. Gibson takes the mound here in the 8th. He'll be facing Throneberry, Neal, and Hickman. Throneberry looking for a hit tonight. He's 0 for 3. How about a 1-3? Well, this one he's going to ground out to Javier at second for the 1st out. Here's Rod Cannell. He flew out to right his first time up. About a 1-11. This time he's going to line the ball right at the shortstop Gauthier for the 2nd out. And here is Hickman. 3-6 is a grounder down to third. Boyer takes it, throws it over to White for the 3rd out. Another 1-2-3 inning for Bob Gibson. And New York will have 1 inning left to try to even this one up. Oops, I need a pitcher's hitting card over here. Mark when Moorhead will get pinch hit for, obviously. Speaking of Moorhead, he comes out for his Third inning of work. He'll face Sawatsky, James, and Gote. Here's Sawatsky. 1-9 is a strikeout. 2 for 4 for Sawatsky on the day. Here's James. He's got a single, a double, and a run scored. 2 for 3. Moorhead pitches to him. And it's a 1-9 again. Strikeout again. Moorhead seems to have found his throwing angle. And he will now face Julio Gote, who homered back in the second inning. It's at 2-4. Grounder back to Moorhead, over to Throneberry for the third out. And we go to the ninth. St. Louis leading 6-3. And Gibson comes out on the mound looking for the complete game. He will face the bottom of the order. We're going to see some pinch hitters, folks. You know that. The very first guy we're going to see pinch hit for is Sammy Taylor. We're going to have Richie Ashburn come in. Ashburn taking the day off today, but he's good for pinch hitting duties. To try to get New York 3 runs and get back in this game. Gibson deals to Ashburn. 1-10. And Ashburn does his job. That's a base hit to lead off the inning. He is a B. They will hold him at first. And Moorhead's due to hit. You know that's not going to happen. So Bob heads to the bench. We'll find him a pinch hitter. Pretty sure that's going to be... Just making sure what my options are. Obi Landreth. 389 on base percentage, and that's what we need right now is another man on base. Let's see. So Ashburn at first. Landreth to the plate. Gibson ready to go, and here's the pitch. What a 5-8 strikeout. Gibson comes right after Landreth and sits him down. So 1 down will go to the top of the order. Chacon to up. He's 0 for 3 with a walk against Gibson today. Sorry, not Chacon, Christopher. 0 for 3 with a walk. 1 out. Ashburn on first. Here's the pitch. 6-7. That's a grounder towards second. Javier is a 3. That is a 15. And that's going to be a fielder's choice. That's going to be a 4-6. Excuse me, to retire Ashburn for the second out. Christopher reaches on the fielder's choice, and the Mets are down to their final out. They will not hold Christopher at first. Makes him a 1-15 to steal second, but if he gets caught, that's the end of the game. So they need 3 runs. That would be a silly steal. Instead, he'll stay where he is, and Ilio Chacon will be ready to hit against Bob Gibson. Gibson on the mound takes a deep breath and ready to pitch. Here we go. 3-11. If they were holding him, those 2 pluses mean it would be a single 2 bases. But since they're not holding him, that's the end of the game, folks. A grounder to short, over to first. 6-3, and that's the final out. This one's in the books. St. Louis Cardinals defeat the New York Mets 6-3. Mets fall to 1-1. St. Louis improves to 1-1. Bob Gibson with a complete game victory. Excuse me. The loss will go to, I believe, Roger Craig, yes. And our player of the game is going to be Bill White. 2 for 4, 1 home run, 3 RBIs on the day. He is our game MVP. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe for Strat Baseball History, thanking you for tuning in to our New York-St. Louis game today in our 1962 replay. Remember, you can follow the entire season and get all game results at www.stratbaseballhistory.com. You can also follow this YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to catch all the great games we're going to be broadcasting here, including some live streams. every Mets and Yankees game from the 62 replay, as well as other years when we get around to them, plus some random games in between. Once again, this is Joe for Strat Baseball History signing off and thanking you for tuning into our ball game today. Stay safe, be well, and have a good night.